This story isn't about who's stronger. It's about what happens when the Arctic's top predators meet for the first time in a world that's no longer frozen the way it used to be. For centuries, killer whales and polar bears lived in separate universes. One ruled the ocean, the other ruled the ice. But now, those worlds are melting into each other. And what follows isn't a myth. It's an adaptation caught on camera. The Arctic we used to know is gone. Rising temperatures are breaking apart ice that once stayed frozen all year. That open water is letting species move into places they've never been before. For orcas, this is opportunity. For polar bears, it's danger. Every summer, the ice breaks a little earlier, stays open a little longer, and the distance between hunting grounds gets wider. That's when the first meetings began, accidental at first, but deadly very quickly. In the past, orcas and polar bears never even saw each other. The ice was too thick for whales to surface, and bears didn't swim far from the floes that kept them safe. But in recent years, hunters and scientists have reported orcas appearing in fjords and narrow channels far inside the bear's range. These are deep, dark waters that cut right through the pack ice. They're perfect for ambush. Polar bears now have to cross them just to reach the next patch of solid ice. That's how two apex predators, once separated by evolution, suddenly ended up in the same arena. Imagine a polar bear swimming through open water, still kilometers away from the next ice sheet. To the bear, it's a normal journey, tiring but familiar. To the killer whale beneath, it's something new. A slow-moving mammal radiating heat and sound unlike anything in its sonar memory. The whale circles once, twice, analyzing. No panic, no rush, just calculation. Because for orcas, every new creature is a puzzle waiting to be solved. An orca's first attack is almost never visible. They don't lunge the way sharks do. They build pressure, create waves, and force the target to waste energy. When the bear paddles harder to keep balance, it tires faster. Then the whale strikes from below, lifting the water in a burst strong enough to break a seal's spine. For the bear, it's disorienting. Water floods the nose and mouth. The body twists, and the rhythm of swimming is gone. The ocean suddenly becomes the predator. Polar bears are incredible swimmers, but they're built for ice, not open water. Their thick fur traps air, keeping them buoyant, but also slowing them down. Their paws are huge paddles, great for steady movement, terrible for sprinting. When the orca goes under, the bear can't track it. It's fighting a ghost it can't see, in an element it doesn't control. Most people don't realize how powerful an orca strike really is. An adult male can weigh 6 tons and hit a speed of over 50 kilometers per hour. When it rams something, the impact is like being hit by a bus underwater. In experiments, those pressure waves are strong enough to knock air out of prey animals instantly. That's what makes the first contact so deadly. Not the teeth, but the force. When researchers first documented orcas this far north, they didn't believe they'd stay. But now, acoustic recorders show their calls echoing under the ice months after the last sighting. They're not visitors anymore, they're residents. And their presence is reshaping every level of the Arctic food web. The polar bear's dominance was built on frozen ground. As that ground melts, so does its power. These aren't random encounters. They're symptoms of a planet that's heating unevenly. The Arctic is warming 4 times faster than the global average. Every degree lost in ice means more overlap between animals that were never meant to meet. And when apex predators overlap, the results are never neutral. Once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 times, and it's evolution. What started as a few rare attacks has now turned into a recognizable pattern. In recent years, multiple pods of killer whales have been documented hunting together in Arctic waters, using group coordination to take down larger prey. For them, this isn't experimentation anymore, it's routine. And for the polar bears, it's an entirely new kind of threat. One they can't outswim, outfight, or predict. It's one thing to see orcas coordinate physically, but it's another to realize they're thinking together. Research from acoustic data in Baffin Bay shows that pod members communicate through distinct calls during hunts. They share information in real time, adjusting movement, synchronizing strikes, even predicting the prey's next position. That level of precision makes them arguably the smartest hunters in the ocean. When they apply that intelligence to a new species, like the polar bear, it's not a fight, it's an algorithm. Polar bears can't hear ultrasound frequencies, but they can feel low-frequency vibrations through the water. Those deep calls that orcas make, the kind that travel kilometers under ice, they're not just noise, they're warnings. Bears exposed to those sounds have been seen turning back toward thicker ice immediately, even before an orca appears. It's not instinct, it's learned fear. Nature doesn't need words to teach a lesson. The most shocking events haven't come from open water, but from the edges of melting ice flows. As bears rest or feed near the perimeter, orcas ram the ice from below, cracking it apart and forcing the bear into the water. That tactic was once used against seals, but the transition to a predator as large as a polar bear shows how adaptable orcas have become. This isn't about hunger anymore, it's about control of territory, and the ocean is winning. Each attack doesn't just kill a bear, it reshapes the region around it. Scavengers benefit from carcasses. Fish populations shift as orcas feed on new species. Even plankton growth patterns change due to the nutrients released into the water after kills. One act of predation can echo through an entire ecosystem. That's how fast energy and fear moves in nature. After several seasons of these encounters, researchers began to notice a quiet behavioral change. Polar bears started avoiding long swims altogether, preferring to stay near land even if it meant starvation. Meanwhile, orcas began arriving earlier in the season, anticipating those migrations. It's almost like they were reading the calendar of their prey. That kind of timing shows not just intelligence, but anticipation. Every adaptation has a cost. For the bears, it's territory. For the whales, it's energy. As orcas push farther north, they burn more calories in colder waters. That means every hunt has to count. So when they attack a bear, it's not just about survival, it's an investment. And in this economy, failure is expensive. These encounters aren't just biology, they're also a signal to us. Because the reason these two species even meet is tied to melting ice. Ice that disappears faster every year because of rising temperatures caused by human activity. The orcas aren't villains. The bears aren't victims. They're both reacting to a change we triggered, and that makes this story not just about nature, but about consequence. The Arctic map used to be drawn by explorers. Now, it's being redrawn by predators. The routes of orcapods, the safe zones of bears, the dead zones where no life lingers. These aren't on any satellite image yet, but they exist. The Arctic has shifted from a frozen desert to a dynamic battlefield, where the topography is measured in sound and blood instead of ice and snow. At this point, it's no longer about if they'll meet again, it's about how often. Every summer brings thinner ice, longer swims, and more opportunities. The balance of power is changing faster than our ability to document it. And with each new encounter, the Arctic becomes less of a wilderness and more of a warning. What we're witnessing isn't nature breaking, it's nature adapting. The killer whale isn't invading the Arctic, it's claiming what the ocean is giving back. The polar bear isn't losing its kingdom, it's being forced to evolve. And somewhere in that process, the Arctic is rewriting its own rules. Rules we once thought were permanent. Because when the ice melts, borders vanish. And when the borders vanish, predators meet. This isn't the end of the story. It's the start of a new one, where even the top of the world has to learn what survival really means.